Here I am and welcome back. My name's Nathan and this week we're going to be going through part 2 of my urban sketching travel adventure. I went traveling to Panama and Colombia. Last week we went through the first 7 days of my sketching trip. And this week we're going to be going through the second part. If you've arrived to this video and you haven't seen the first part of my sketchbook tour travel vlog, you can go and check that out by clicking this link up here. So let's go ahead and jump into part 2 of my sketchbook tour travel vlog from Panama and Colombia. So let's continue. The next morning, I went on a coffee tour. I booked this directly with the coffee farm. Is that what you call it? It's called a finca de café in Spanish. I think that's a coffee farm, well, let's say. What else would you call it? A coffee plantation, perhaps? Anyway, I booked directly with them, with Café Don Manolo. He came and picked me up from my accommodation and took me to the finca. Now, nobody else had booked on for the tour this day. He said the day before it was absolutely full, but nobody had booked this day. So I had the whole tour to myself. I had a private tour, which was excellent. They were so knowledgeable, obviously, because it's their business, but it was so good. I saw the production of coffee from the berry to the seeds or beans to them being roasted to packaging to everything. It was excellent. And I sampled all of their different coffees that they make, and I even bought a bag and brought it home. And I bought it in the beans, so I had to buy a coffee grinder. Any excuse to spend money. And he even let me sit down at the end of the tour, take my time, and I sketched this lovely coffee decanter that he was using, which was really nice. And I'm really pleased with how this turned out because I think it looks like glass. You know, it looks like it's see-through, and I'm really pleased with that. They also had cacao plants. So this is where you get chocolate from, and you cut this open and there are big seeds inside and you can suck on them and they're really sweet. They're really nice. And you can suck on the coffee beans when they come out of the shell. You just kind of squeeze it and they pop out, and those are sweet as well. Then after the coffee tour, the coffee tour cost me 35,000, which was 3 hours long, cost me less than €8, so about £7. Excellent. Then that afternoon I flew with Avianca, here is their livery, from Pereira to Cartagena de Indias, just on the Caribbean coast, and it had a completely different vibe to Medellin and Pereira and Salento. It felt very Caribbean and it was very hot. It was like 30 degrees and quite humid. So the first night I just chilled out in the hotel. I needed a rest after doing so much stuff. But then the next day I went for a walk on day 9. I went for a walk to the old historic centre and I sketched this, Torre del Reloj. And you can see me sketching this in last week's video here. And for this sketch I painted first and then sketched on top. But I made this big blue sky, which I really hated. It was too obnoxious. It was too overpowering. So I didn't like that. But I went back to my hotel and I was thinking, how can I fix this? And I was chilling out on the roof because there was a rooftop bar and there were these cactuses. So I decided to paint these cactuses onto the blue area and incorporate the blue into the plant pots and into the cactus themselves. And I really think that does a good job at detracting from how obnoxious this sky was. I also took my white Uniball pen just to try and calm this down a bit, which looks a little bit messy, but it's okay. I could write on top of it, so not really a problem. And also, I think it works quite well actually, because this is kind of a very reddy, browny page, and then this is a very blue page. That evening I went to a salsa and bachata class, which I almost didn't book myself onto, and that was €35 as well. So again, £7 for 3 hours, and they gave us drinks, and there were 5 of us there. I was a bit worried about going, thinking I might be the only man, I might be the only solo traveller. Turns out I was the only man, but I wasn't the only solo traveller. Hey. We don't hand. Balance. One of the girls was from London. She was called Ashby, and I got on very well with her. She was actually my dance partner through the night. And that was just a great way to spend an evening. I met new people. It was really good. They even taught us some of the slang from Cartagena. This one, the top word, no joda, that is actually used throughout Colombia, and I'm sure I've heard that in Spain, but maybe from Colombians in Barcelona perhaps. And then the rest of these are actually unique to Cartagena. So we learned a little bit about Colombian culture and Cartagena culture while we were there. So that was a good added little bonus that I didn't expect. So the next day I had breakfast in my hotel, which was Bondo Estudios, and this is just the sign that was in reception. It had this kind of cool industrial aesthetic. This was like concrete slabs for the wall, and then the plants were hanging around. It was really cool. Oh, you might notice I've added the date on every page as well when the day changes. Then I just chilled out. I relaxed most of that day, which was my whole plan for Cartagena, was to just chill out a little bit because I was so busy on all of the other days. But I kept in touch with Ashby from the night before, so we went out for a walk at sunset. We had some drinks and we had dinner. So this is the sunset from the city wall that we walked along. And then we did have a little drink where there was a DJ playing in front of, this is the city wall as well, on a corner here where the bar was, and there's a little cannon there. But I just did that quickly. I didn't want to take too much of the time because, you know, I was trying to be social. Then the next day I flew from Cartagena to Bogota with JetSmart, which had a really cute tail fin. And then in Bogota, I went horse riding in the Andes Mountains. I'm not great at sketching people or animals, but I'm really pleased with how this turns out. I think this looks really cute. So this is me on my horse. My horse was called Morita. She was a little bit small, but what was good about this tour was that if you were an experienced rider, and I have some experience, you were allowed to gallop. They let you kind of, as long as you had control of the horse, you were able to do whatever you wanted. Instead of just, sometimes you do horse tours and you're all tied together, so you can't do anything other than trot. But you could gallop, and I did some galloping, which I really enjoyed. And then we had these lovely views in the Andes Mountains as well. Then that afternoon I took the cable car to the top of Monserrate, which is interesting because there is a mountain called Montserrat in Barcelona, which is the same name, but in Catalan it just doesn't have the E. This is the Santuario de Montserrat. I went in and had a look. Here was the Virgin. And the view from Monserrate, you're supposed to be able to see all of Bogota, but when I first arrived, this is what I saw. Then eventually it cleared up. So I sat down and I sketched this before it started to rain. Now, I added the colours when I got back, well, one colour, red, when I got back to my accommodation. And I decided just to use red because the trims of the edges of the building were all in red. So I just decided to carry that through and do a monochrome theme. And again, added little people. The next day I went to the National Museum of Colombia, which cost me 39,000 pesos, which is about €8. So not super expensive, but just my opinion, it wasn't my type of museum. It was what my auntie would call bits of pot and stick. Not really that interested in pots and stick. I like art, I like history. I suppose there's history in the bits of pot and stick, but I like it. It didn't really interest me, let's just say. But then eventually I did come across this area of the Máscaras de Fiesta de los Diabolitos, and they're kind of grotesque. I couldn't stop looking at them. They were like so ugly that I wanted to see more. Anyway, so I decided to sketch one of those. I particularly liked this one because she had this massive eye and this tiny eye and, I don't know, these hairs on her chin and these big lips. Then I went for a walk down to Plaza Bolivar. Oh, actually, in here, no, I did learn some history. I learned about Simón Bolívar, who was the liberator of Latin America from Spain. Because Colombia used to include, it was Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia, and Panama. They were all one country, who Simón Bolívar managed to liberate from Spain. But now they are all different countries, and Bolivia is named after him. Anyway, so I went down to this square, Plaza Bolivar, and sketched this cathedral, Catedral Primada de Colombia. And again, little people. Oh, also look here, I started adding my little frame thing again. Did I do that anywhere else? Oh yes, I did it in Salento as well. I added a frame in Salento. Then, while I was down here, I went to the Museo del Oro, which is the gold museum. Colombia is very famous for having gold. Their airport is even called El Dorado, Golden Airport. And look here, this cost me only 5,000, which is maybe £1.20. How much is 5,000? Oh, €1.12. So less than £1 it cost me to get in there. And it cost me 8 to get in here. And this is a better museum in my opinion. It's in one of the top 5 museums in the world apparently. So these were a couple of masks that I saw in there. This mask was very elaborate and this one was more simple, but I quite liked how kind of like derpy and funny his little face was. So I decided to sketch both of them. And I really like actually how golden they look. I think I've achieved this by using the Hansa yellow with the Pyrrol scarlet to create different shades of yellow and orange, and then using my fallow green, and the olive green actually, to make the shadows, because it really gives this nice kind of depth to it. Then the next day day 14 doesn't really count as a day because I had to be at the airport at 9 a.m. So I didn't really have much to do or sketch. I just stuck my luggage tag in from the Iberia flight to Madrid, and I was trying to sleep to get back onto Spanish time, but I just couldn't. So I didn't sleep through it the whole flight, and then I had to take another 2-hour train from Madrid to Barcelona, and I didn't sleep there either because I was not going to take the bus again. After that bus journey, I was like, nope, I'm taking the train home. So I was awake for a long time, maybe 24 hours I was awake, almost like the way going there, to be honest. Then I had 1 page left, so I decided to sketch my luggage. So this is like a traveling backpack that a work colleague let me borrow. It was a 60-litre backpack. It was by the brand Quencher. Don't really know much about Quencher, but I called him Quentin. So Quentin Quencher, and he took all of my clothes with him, really. I also took this tripod and a couple of other little things, but mainly clothes in there. I had another backpack with no name, rucksack, sorry. So this is No Name Rucksack. That's become his name now, No Name. And that just had my camera, my laptop, my other camera, took 2 cameras, and like cables and things in there, chargers and things. And then I had Miss Quilty. Yay, Miss Quilty. She had all of my art supplies in there and my passport and things like that. And I had Miss Quilty with me every single day. She was the best travel companion. Thank you, Miss Quilty. I hope you've enjoyed this sketchbook tour / travel vlog. Please leave me a comment. Let me know where your favourite place is to travel. Let me know what your favourite sketch was. Like this video, and if you haven't, please subscribe as well. It'll really help a little channel like me grow, because I really do enjoy doing this and I like engaging with you guys. People have been leaving comments lately. I've really enjoyed it. So please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in next week's video. Bye!